Vanessa Russo is one of the hottest young poker players out there. She has been scoring big cashes on the live tournament circuit since 2005, including 2 finishes in 2006 that netted her more than $250,000 each. One of those cashes was for first place in the Borgata Open No Limit Hold'em preliminary event. None of this success is much of a surprise, considering she graduated as valedictorian of her high school and graduated from Duke with a degree in economics. So what does this 24-year-old beauty have to do with online poker? Well, her biggest cash ever came just last Sunday when she finished in 3rd place in the PokerStars World Championship of Online Poker main event. She won $464,000 for that huge finish in the year's biggest online poker tournament. We've got Vanessa on the phone right now to talk to us about her awesome accomplishment and what she did to get to that final table. All right, how are you doing today, Vanessa?
I'm a little stressed out. I'm actually on the to Austria. So trying to throw everything together last minute to make it to Austria, then Barcelona, then I'm heading to Toronto and Dublin. Just so many travels coming up. I had to pack for like the next 2 months, and it's a little stressful, but I'll be happy when I'm on the plane and able to relax.
Well, first off, congratulations on finishing deep in both the main event and in the $1,000 Limit Hold'em event, actually where you finished 25th. How many WCOOP events did you play in?
I don't know the exact number, but I think I played in like seven or 8. I think you can check that. You should be able to check that if you look at the WCOOP registrations and see if Lady Maverick played. But I think I played in like 7. I missed the first few. I was abroad. I was in actually Asia, and then I missed some in the middle when I was in Asia again, and then towards the end, I was able to play most of the ones towards the end. So I think 7 or 8.
Cool.
And I cashed in 2. I cashed in the limit one and the last event.
Yeah, the main event, of course. Well, since you're a member of Team PokerStars, what do you do for them, and what do they do for you as part of that deal?
For me, what do I do for them? Well, I'm just an ambassador for the site. I play exclusively on their site, and just act as an ambassador. And what do they do for me? Well, they compensate me in various forms, and part of that is tournament buy-ins. And so for the WCOOP events that I played, they paid my buy-ins for those, and some other live tournaments along the way during the year as well.
Well, so then to free roll for over $400,000 must be nice then, huh?
Yeah, I'm a very lucky girl, for sure.
Well, so you fought off almost 3,000 other entrants to make your 3rd place finish there. You also had to last for 22 hours, which is possibly even more noteworthy considering that you had probably already been awake for a while before the tournament started. So, poker pros are always complaining about staying awake for like 14 hours or so in live tournaments, but they've got nothing on this. What are your thoughts on surviving both such a huge field?
This is one of the things that if anyone doubted that poker was a sport before this, I got to be honest, it was definitely required endurance, not just mental but physical. I was really tired towards the end. I'd been up, almost 30 hours, and it was, trying to keep your mental in tip-top form, and you're concentrating on all the variables at the table, trying to stay focused, not make mistakes. That's like, it's worse than just being awake for 30 hours. It's like being awake and doing math problems for 30 hours. It's, so by the end, I was really, really tired. But, I was happy with my performance. I don't think I made many mistakes. And, luckily for me, the cards fell my way. And, I'm obviously elated with the result.
Well, what did you think of the final table? You can point any fingers and say any names here if you want, by the way. They aren't going to be seeing this probably.
The final table, I thought, to be perfectly honest, I came in short stacked. I was 9th in chips, so I didn't have much play the entire final table. I managed to kind of just sidestep the majority of the action during the final table play and allow other players to knock each other out. Some big stacks getting knocked out along the way. While me with my little short stacks, just kind of, I was a little short stack that could, and I just hung around and was really card. I got aces once. Other than that, really, really, really had no playable hands. I had to make a couple moves and just try to play position when it folded to me, which wasn't very often. And stay alive. So since I didn't get much play, it's hard for me to really, evaluate the other players. I really didn't get myself involved in hands with them very often. In most of the hands that I played, I would just, be all in before not get called, or the one time I did get called was I had pocket aces, so that would worked out fine. And so, but I mean, hey, those players made it through the same field I did. Pretty impressive, 3,000 players, and so hats off to them. They must have played a great tournament to get that far.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, I even said in my tournament recap that you were just like an extremely tenacious player, obviously, and a survivor to have lasted so long and to have gone through such a roller coaster ride with your chip stack. Because, I mean, you were a short stack for a lot of the time and just kind of going up and down, little sine curve path with it, basically, so...
Yeah, I mean, I credit my win with my early play in the tournament. I don't know if you got a chance to see any of that, but earlier on, my first two tables I was at, I think I played very, very strong. Basically, the best poker I've ever played. I kind of just I was involved in a lot more hands than I'm normally involved in, and I was outplaying what I felt were weaker players post flop, and I really built my chip stack pretty high early on. So that propelled me, when there were still 2,500 players, etc., left into the top 100. And I pretty much stayed in the top 100 in chips the entire tournament. Later on, I was still doing well. I was at the top of the chip stack, the leaderboard. And then once we got real late, I kind of just got card dead, and I couldn't seem to pick up a hand. And so I was pretty short stacked from like 27 players down. And it was also, it was tough to play because the table seemed to be like, even if you would raise, would push all in, and you were forced to play really large pots. And I try to stay away from gambling too much, so I wasn't able to play that many hands, and maybe I was a little too conservative at the end, not to mention tired, and that's what allowed me to get short stack. So I'm really lucky that I played well early on to build me that chip stack that allowed me to survive so long later on.
Right. Well, and I've got to ask you about the last hand of the main event for you. For our viewers' sake, I'll kind of give a brief recap real quick. Basically, you're in the big blind with a little more than 30 big blinds worth of chips. Casino raises for 2.5 times the big blind on the button, and you call with 6-3 suited. The flop is 10-6-3 rainbow, giving you 2 pair, which is great, and you slow play by check calling. And then the turn is the 7 of spades, and you putting 2 spades out there, by the way, and you both check. The river is the jack of spades, so now there's 3 spades, and you bet $2 million into a $3 million pot. Casino pushes all in, having you covered, and you call for about another $4 million. He shows 9-2 of spades for a rivered flush. So basically, I mean, do you regret slow playing the hand, or would you have done the same thing again?
I'll tell you what, slow playing the hand on the flop isn't a problem. I mean, I really believe when you're three-handed and you flop 2 pair, that's very strong. If you look at the statistics, the odds, first of all, he needs runner to catch up to me. Mm-hmm. And so he happened to get his runner, which was, fortunate for him, unfortunate for me. So I don't have a problem with the decision to slow play the hand on the flop. Once I check the turn, I'm obviously intending to check raise. I expect him to put in another bet. I'm going to raise big right there on the turn. And should he have picked up a draw, he shouldn't have the odds to call my re-raise on the turn. Unfortunately for me, he checked behind on the turn. That should have signaled to me that he probably picked up a draw. And when that draw hit on the river, and I defensive bet into him for 2,000, and he comes over the top, in the future I probably wouldn't make that call. I think that was probably a mistake. I thought he maybe thought he was trapping, or maybe he hit top pair jacks on the river, and had ace jack the whole time, and so he just decided to check behind with ace high. That's what I was thinking in the moment, and then he hit top pair jacks with the ace kicker, and because he hesitated before he pushed me all in. It wasn't like an immediate all in. He thought for like 20 seconds, and so if that were to happen again, I probably wouldn't call. But I was so tired. It was 22 hours. That was probably a mistake. But you live and you learn.
Yep. I mean, and like you said, after 22 hours, you kind of have to expect that kind of mistake to happen sometimes. Just have to hope it doesn't happen, pretty much. So, and you can't be too unhappy with $400,000, like I said. So.
No, like I said, I'm a lucky girl, and I'm obviously very happy with the result.
Absolutely. Well, since you play predominantly in live tournaments, was there anything aside from the longer hours that you had to get used to play in the WCOOP events?
Let's see. No, not really. I've played a lot of online tournaments. I've played at least 80 or 90 online tournaments. So, no, I'm pretty used to playing those online tournaments. The only real difference, I think, is usually it feels like the blinds tend to accelerate quicker online. But with the WCOOPs, I was actually very impressed with the structure. I thought the main event structure was great, and it really accurately reflected or mirrored, a similar structure to a big buy-in live tournament. So I never felt that the blinds were going up too quickly. I felt there was a lot of play, especially starting with 20,000 chips. And so to be perfectly honest, I just played my game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, do you notice whether or not the players are very much different online?
I think that there's certain things that you see and you don't see online versus live play. For instance, online you'll see a lot more min raises. And what I mean by a min raise is where someone just doubles the big blind as a raise, or someone bets into them post flop, they'll just double their bet. Live players don't tend to do that. They tend to be a lot concerned with pot odds and not giving people the odds to call, whereas live players tend to be a lot more fearless and willing to do these min raises, and it's kind of evolved to be a lot more commonplace online. That's one thing I noticed. Let's see, another thing I noticed about online players is they tend to be a little more aggressive, and I also think that more aggressive play tends to be more successful online. I think that if you, like in live tournaments, you can pretty much grind into the money pretty consistently by playing tight. Online, I don't know whether it's a function of the structure or what, but it doesn't seem to work, at least for me when I've tried it out. I only tend to have success when I play pretty aggressively in those tournaments.
Gotcha. Well, and we already kind of talked about how you got as far as you did in the main event. You got 25th in the $1,000 limit event, like I said. That had 616 entrants. What do you think got you so far there?
Actually, it's the same thing. It was aggression. I think one player said it best. He was at one of my tables later on when it was down to about 50 players. He was like, sure, you're more aggressive than me. And, the people on the rail were laughing in the chat box. I was really, really aggressive in the limit tournament, just raising with straight draws and things like that, really trying to be more deceptive and just overall aggressive. I think that in the limit tournament, people played really super tight, and I just exploited that. I would raise probably 3 out of 10 hands, and 2 out of the 10 would usually go uncontested, everyone folding. And 1 out of 10 I would have to play, and I'd probably win half of those, and so that was a winning strategy in that tournament.
Cool. Well, do you like limit or no limit more then?
I like no limit more. My natural tendency is to be, aggressive, and while you can be aggressive in limit hold'em, you can be much more aggressive in no limit. You can really put people to decisions for their entire chip stack, and you also have so many more complex plays you can do in no limit. So I prefer no limit, but I do like limit tournaments as well.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for improving the WCOOP for next year?
I think the structure was great. The only thing is if we could just get a little break, probably after 14 hours of play, if they let the players, go to bed and start the next day, that would be great. That would kind of mirror what they do in live tournaments and allow there to be better play at the end. Players won't be so exhausted, and right. So I think they're considering it, and I hope they do decide to go with a 2 or 3 day structure. So
you have got wind of them possibly considering the idea seriously then?
Oh no, just from people in the poker community saying that. I'm not actually sure about if PokerStars is, but I'm assuming they are, since it's been so commonplace to suggest that lately.
Yeah, that's true. Well, final question then. Do you have any suggestions for people who might want to play in next year's events?
In the WCOOP next year?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they have, the great thing about PokerStars is they always have a lot of satellites leading up to any event. So if you know that you want to play next September, then in the summer months, start playing satellites. I mean, you can get in for even free using your frequent player points, but they definitely have other satellites, like $27 satellites, things like that. And play those. I think there's a lot of equity in those satellites, and you can win your entry, and give it a shot. And the size of the fields and the size of the prize pool certainly make it well worth your while.
And of course, playing in some of the bigger no-limit events, you might suggest sleeping until the events start and then waking up instead of being awake ahead of time.
Yeah, based on my experience, that's at least what I plan on doing next year. I have to prepare better to make it deep.
Exactly. Well, cool. I really appreciate you taking the time for this interview, and congratulations again on your third place finish.
Well, thanks so much.
And thank you very much for watching the Online Zone on Card Player TV.